It's U of L Today on 93.9 The Ville. Here's your host, Mark Hebert.
And welcome to UofL Today with Mark Hebert on 93.9 The Ville. So glad you're joining us for the next 30 minutes or so, where hopefully you'll learn a little something about the University of Louisville and the people who work there, and hopefully get you a little bit of information about some things that you can use in your daily life. So what have we got on the show today? Well, she fled war-torn Bosnia when she was just 8 years old, came to the U.S., and became interested in medicine while serving as an English translator for her aging grandfather. Now she's a graduate of the UofL School of Medicine and on the road to becoming a doctor. It's an amazing story you'll want to hear, and we'll have that coming up. But first, half of Americans who reach age 85 have some form of dementia, and the cost of caring for adults with dementia and Alzheimer's in particular has skyrocketed to $269 billion. Karen Robertson is professor emerita in the UofL School of Nursing. She led a dementia caregiver study, and she is here to talk about it and what caregivers can do to help treat folks with dementia and Alzheimer's. Well, welcome, Karen.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Great to have you. Great to have you. Well, tell me what the dementia caregiver study is. What is that?
It is a program of research that looks at evidence-based interventions that help caregivers adjust to taking care of someone with dementia. And probably early in the program, we should define the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's disease.
That's good, because I don't know the difference. Okay. Alzheimer's is part of dementia, right? Dementia is a broader category, right? Am I wrong or right?
Dementia is the broad umbrella.
Okay.
And all the different diseases that cause memory loss are under that umbrella. So when the listeners hear the word dementia, it means that brain damage has occurred, that there is a disease that's causing progressive brain damage. But dementia refers to the symptoms that occur with brain damage, particularly memory loss and confusion and agitation.
Right.
Most of the diseases result in the same symptoms. So the broad category is dementia. And then under that category, the most important disease that causes the most cases is Alzheimer's disease. It causes as many as 70 to 80% of cases. And the second disease people should be aware of is vascular dementia. It's
vascular dementia?
Yes.
I have never heard of that. What is that?
It's the heart disease that...
Well, I know what vascular means, but heart disease dementia
Yes.
doesn't make any sense to me.
What happens is that the heart is not strong enough, or the arteries clog, and so enough oxygen does not get to the brain, and thus brain cells die because of the heart is not working properly or the arteries are clogged.
Right. Okay.
So the audience should be aware of the difference.
Okay.
Those people that have vascular dementia are more likely to have plateaus. They don't necessarily progress the same as Alzheimer's disease. So you can prevent vascular dementia.
Right.
People should prevent heart disease.
Right.
And
Keep
they
their
can
heart in good
prevent
shape.
that. Yes.
Right. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit that you did this caregiver study. So people who are caring for a loved one that has Alzheimer's, dementia, the broader category, is going to want to hear something. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I want you to go over some of the statistics, which were really jarring when you sent them to me and when I looked some up online. So why don't you go over the statistics of how many folks have Alzheimer's, how many folks have the broader dementia in the United States, and the cost of those caregivers.
Okay, yes. In Kentucky, 17,000 people have Alzheimer's disease. And the listeners should be aware that the main problem with our society is we have an aging society. And the biggest risk factor for these diseases, dementia that we're talking about, is age. The older you are, the more at risk you are.
And the more older folks we have in Kentucky, the more dementia we're going to have.
Exactly. And particularly because heart disease is the number one cause of death. A lot of people have both dementia from Alzheimer's and from vascular dementia. So probably many people have a mixed form. But by the time you are 85, 49% of the population have some form of dementia. Now, that's including all of the different diseases. And
So if you're 85 years old and you don't have some memory issues, you're
good.
You're good, but you're 1 and 2. I mean,
Yes.
the guy next to you that's 85 years old does have some memory
right.
issues.
Yes.
That's a big number.
It is, and the reason we have the aging population is baby boomers. So we need to be aware that baby boomers, the cause is that when World War II ended, all the soldiers came home and began their families. So our population generally is flat until you get to the baby boomers, and every few seconds a baby boomer is turning age 65. And that's when the risk is greatest,
Right.
after age 65.
Right, and I think
It's a worldwide problem because it was a world war. So it's not just here in the U.S., it's the whole world is dealing with this.
And how many folks in the United States are dying from Alzheimer's, dementia-related causes each year? Ballpark, do you know?
It is.
It's killing a lot of people. I know that.
It is. It's the sixth biggest cause of death. And each year, more people.
It's going to grow and grow,
It is
obviously, as we get
growing
older. Yeah.
Because of the baby boomers.
Yeah. And is there any cure, anything on the horizon that seems to...
This is the one disease. There is no drug. There is no way at this time in science to stop or prevent the disease even.
And here was a surprise to me. You sent a little note along that this Alzheimer's kills more people than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a bunch of folks.
We're making much more progress in all the other diseases. And so, therefore, because we don't have a way to slow it down or stop the disease, it's the largest cause of, the sixth leading cause of death, as well as becoming the most expensive of all diseases. And that's primarily because, unfortunately, as the disease progresses, most families cannot care for the person at home. Eventually, most families have to look at nursing home placement, and that's the most expensive kind of care.
So let's talk a little bit about that, about the people who are trying to care for those loved ones who now have Alzheimer's, have dementia. What do you tell them? What are some of the recommendations that came out of this study and this survey that you did?
What I found in my research is that caregivers back into this situation without any preparation, and this situation is not common sense. Therefore, caregivers need to gain new skills and new knowledge to improve their own quality of life, and when they improve their quality of life, they're also improving their loved one, the person with dementia. And so first we have to talk about the negative outcomes that result from caregiving if there's no intervention. And primarily it is because of this lack of preparation, the caregiver very slowly becomes more isolated. The phone stops ringing, they drop out of all groups, and eventually they cannot leave their loved one. And they tend not to be aware of this, and they don't prepare for it. So they become very burdened, very isolated, and depression is the number one big problem.
And you can understand that.
Yes, how can
anybody
you
can
not
understand
be
that.
depressed?
Yeah, you're dealing with mom and dad 24 hours a day.
Yes.
That's tough.
And no matter what you do, you cannot stop this disease. So you could be the perfect caregiver and do everything perfectly, but you won't stop. You cannot control the disease.
Right.
So you need to gain knowledge and skills. And that's what my intervention did. It had two components, and the first component was to help the caregiver gain an understanding of the disease process and how to manage a person with dementia. And the concept that my colleague and I worked on, my colleague from the University of Iowa is Dr. Kathleen Buckwalter, and if people go to my faculty page, they'll see that she and I published quite a bit together. But she developed this concept called the progressively lowered stress threshold that is simply understood as the disease progresses, the person with dementia is less able to cope with any kind of stress. So the caregiver should watch for when stress is building and change the environment, get rid of the stress. And part of the intervention is teaching caregivers what causes stress.
Well,
So-
like what? Give me an example of something that would cause a stress in my dad if I'm caring for him, and he gets freaked out about what, and then he turns angry, and he doesn't
Yes.
necessarily know who I am. What's an
right.
example?
Some of the most common stressors are fatigue. For example, fatigue is less in the morning, but it progresses higher as the day goes on. So therefore, the most complicated, difficult things should be done in the morning before the fatigue really hits. And to prevent the fatigue becoming so bad, rest periods during the day are needed.
Give them naps. Make sure they take naps.
Yes, but do not put them in bed. They should just be sitting up in the chair, short naps, and alternate difficult activities with easier activities.
Okay.
Another thing that can cause a lot of problem is overload of noise and too much stimulation. And often the routine, establishing a routine will help calm the person. Doing the same thing at the same time with the same person every day helps.
Okay. A routine.
A routine, yes.
Okay. All right, so that's one component of it. What's the second component?
The second component is everybody that deals with this person should be on the same page of what to do and what not to do. For example, the whole family needs to understand what causes the stress, and they should all problem solve to get rid of it. So for that, often without this education and everybody in the family being on the same page, the family gives bad advice. For example, they don't understand that you have to have the same routine every day. And so they'll tell the caregiver, oh, the person needs some more stimulation. They need different
We need to go
people.
outside
Exactly.
today. Yeah, okay.
And
not true.
Not true.
Dad needs to
No.
do the same thing every day.
Yes,
Okay.
with the same people.
With the same people. Okay.
And that helps him be more oriented so that he knows that at breakfast it's morning and so on.
So where do folks find information about that, though? Where do they go to get the information that you just offered? Where do they find it?
We do have wonderful partners in the community, and certainly I need to mention, first of all, most important partner is the Alzheimer's Association. We're wonderfully fortunate to have their services. They offer support groups. There are many throughout Louisville. The second kind of support that we think our listeners need to be aware of is adult daycares. This is where the person goes and participates in structured activities during the day. And then it gives the rest of the family a break during the day, but the person goes home at night. So every listener should be aware of their nearest support group and also the nearest adult daycare.
All right.
But otherwise, we need to realize that it's not just me as a researcher that's doing intervention research. We have much evidence from many researchers across the world that interventions work. And these are tested interventions. They improve the quality of life. We have randomly controlled studies that show these interventions decrease isolation, they decrease depression, and they improve the quality of life for the person with dementia as well as the caregiver. It helps both members of that dyad.
All right, Karen Robinson. So how can people contact you if they want some more information?
Yes. Anybody interested in learning more about the interventions can help me actually by participating in a needs assessment on we're trying to translate these interventions into services. So contact me. My email is karen.robinson@louisville.edu.
That's an easy one. Karen.robinson@louisville.edu.
I'll spell it.
Well, you don't even have to spell it. I think everybody knows how to spell Karen and Robinson.
Okay.
So a traditional spelling of both.
Traditional, yes.
So, all right. Well, good luck with your more studies, and congratulations on what you've done so far, because this is just a burgeoning field as we're trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's, and B, some help for those who are caring for folks with Alzheimer's. So good luck.
Right.
Meliha Hrustanovic-Kadic has an amazing story to tell tell. She recently graduated from the UofL School of Medicine, but it's how she got to this point and how UofL and her family supported her. That's the amazing part. Well, welcome, Meliha, first off.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on your degree from the UofL School of Medicine.
Thank you so much.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do? What kind of doctor you want to be, or do you know yet?
So I'm starting my residency in internal medicine at UofL in July, and I wanted to be a hospitalist for the longest time.
A hospitalist?
But now I'm thinking maybe specializing in allergy and immunology after that. But we'll see.
What's a hospitalist? What's that? I don't even know what that is. Never heard that term.
It's basically a doctor that will admit patients that come in through the emergency room and take care of them while they're in the hospital instead of the outpatient setting.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, the reason I stumbled across your story, someone did a nice story about you on UofL Today website, UofL News website, and I thought it was a very inspiring story. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you got to America, where you're from, how you got to America, how your family got here.
Sure. So I was originally born in Bosnia, and 1992 is when the civil war in Bosnia started. In 1995, we actually fled to Germany as refugees. We stayed there for a few years, but then the situation became kind of either go back to your home country, the war's kind of settled down, or find another place to go. So we applied to come to the United States, and at age 8, we settled in Bowling Green.
So you wound up in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Did,
How in the world did you get from Bosnia to Bowling Green?
You haven't been the first person to ask me that.
I'm sure.
I honestly don't even know. I think it just depended on where you had sponsorships for refugees at that time, and they just kind of sprinkled refugees wherever they could at that point, and we ended up in Bowling Green.
And was life in Bowling Green okay?
It was a shocker at first. We came from Berlin, Germany, so it was a little bit different,
Might have been a smaller
scale,
city, yeah.
just a little bit. But honestly, we've made it home ever since, and we've loved it.
And your parents still live there, right?
They do. All of my family actually lives over there. Just my husband and I that live in Louisville.
Okay. And so you moved back to the big city of
I
Louisville.
I
Yeah,
did.
the gigantic city. Not quite like Berlin either. All right. So then, so you're in Bowling Green.
Yes.
Going to public schools, I assume, in Bowling Green? Or where'd you go to school in Bowling Green?
I did. I did all of my schooling in Bowling Green. I started 3rd grade down there, actually, as an ESL student. And then I eventually ended up going to Western Kentucky University for undergrad.
And your English is absolutely flawless. So
Thank you.
how did that happen?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you.
Because
from
the time you're 8 years old, you were speaking what?
Bosnian.
Is it Bosnian?
And
is that
German
a language?
while I was in Germany.
Okay. Okay.
I think it just became a matter of you better learn this language so you can translate for your family or they're going to struggle without you. And I was so excited to start school that I knew I had to complete it. They actually gave us a little white dictionary when we came here and had some most common translations on it. And I just kind of took that and went to ESL classes and kind of had to master it, I guess.
And you made it, yeah, okay. We're talking with Meliha Hrustanovic-Kadic, who I just said got an amazing story to tell that she got to the University of Louisville. So you went to Western Kentucky University, got out of high school. Did you graduate as like valedictorian or some overwhelming honors?
No, I think I was 8th in my class, but
well, that's pretty good. That's not bad. Which high school did you go to?
Warren Central High School.
Warren Central. That's a big high school.
It is.
So 8th in your class. That's really good. So you did well in high school. And you go to Western.
I did.
Did you know that you wanted to be a doctor by the time you got to Western?
So a part of me did, and a part of me just wanted to continue the family business that we had because it wasn't a hard job.
What was the family
enjoyed
business?
it. We had a trucking company. My parents started it when I was around 14 or 15 years old, and I've helped them manage it ever since. But I think once I started taking those classes, my heart just wasn't there. And then I thought back to the times that I spent in the hospital and emergency room with my grandfather while he immigrated to the United States as well. And then I realized that I think I should try going for pre-med. So I took a few biology and chemistry classes, and after that it was all history because I ended up graduating with a biology major and chemistry minor.
Okay, so you graduate from Western, and then you decide you want to go to medical school. So how'd you pick UofL?
At first, I honestly applied to just kind of the geographic region around Kentucky, wanted to stay close to home, but I ended up withdrawing a few of my applications and just wanted to apply to UofL, UK, Vandy, places around here, much closer. After I got my interview invite to U of L and actually finished the interview. I think it was November or so.
November of what year was that?
I'm trying to think.
Has that been 3 years ago, I guess?
2012.
Okay, so 5 years ago. Okay.
I actually didn't even want to go to any more interviews after that. The atmosphere was so welcoming. Everyone was great. It seemed like everyone was just trying to help each other succeed here, and I felt right at home. So I ended up going 2 more interviews after that just to make sure I didn't risk it like that. But it was a good decision on my end, so I'm glad I made it.
All right, we're talking with Meliha Hrustanovic-Kadic. Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay, Kadic. A Bosnian immigrant from years ago. Came over here when you were 8 at the time? Okay.
I was 8 years old.
To the United States. And now she just graduated from the University of Louisville Medical School and wants to be a doctor. Still got some things to do before you get there. So you've had, 5 years now at the University of Louisville. What did you find? You said you found a bunch of welcoming folks at the University of Louisville. What else did you find? What was your experience here at U of L in the medical school?
I feel like there was a place for everyone here. It was a very inclusive environment. I feel like no matter what kind of support services you needed, no matter what happened in your life, someone from the staff and faculty or even the students would be there for you. I know that they've always helped with academic advising, career planning, financial aid. There's wellness initiatives going on right now. They're just absolutely amazing. The LGBT Center, Diversity Office. I mean, I can go on for days, I feel like. It's just, you never felt like you were alone at U of L.
And you decided, you just said earlier, that you wanted to get into allergy. Was there some course or some doctor or teacher or someone that you had a class with that steered you in that direction? You thought that'd be really cool? Or was it some practicum or something you did? What happened?
So, throughout my experience in medical school, before I got my doctorate, I just felt like I liked every bit of internal medicine. I liked the pulmonology, I liked the cardiology, I liked the allergy. But then my last rotation actually was an allergy rotation. And I don't know, something just hit me and I was like, I really like this. The people I worked with were great. I worked mainly with Dr. Jones at Kentucky and Allergy. So he kind of mentored me a little there. It was a short rotation, but those 2-3 weeks I was there were definitely worth it. And I just feel like as an allergist, I think I could provide a lot of services to the people in Kentucky because I feel like here everyone has allergies.
Yeah, I was just going to say the thing. I swear to God, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say everybody's got allergies in Kentucky. Surely you can find a job.
Exactly.
When you get out. So your family is in the trucking business.
They are.
So how did they help you through this process? How'd you see that?
I mean, I can't tell you how they've been there for me, not just financially, because obviously, you know, when you're in medical school, you're not allowed to work, so you do get a lot of debt. Just even emotionally, some days, you know, you don't think you can do it anymore and it's getting too stressful, and they're there to push you along so you can finish that next test or whatever it is you're doing. My husband also has been there. It really does take a special kind of person to deal with someone in medical school and, you know, all their stresses and not being home all the time and working long hours. But they've just all been very supportive. They've pushed me when I didn't want to push myself, and they really made me who I am today. So,
are you the first in your family to graduate from college?
I am, actually.
I figured as much. So, and do you have any younger siblings?
I do. Both of them are in college.
Okay.
I have a younger brother and a younger sister. They're both at Western Kentucky University as well.
So you've paved the way.
I tried.
So how does that feel?
It feels great. I don't want them to think that they're living in my shadows or anything like that, but I want to feel like I open at least some doors for them and encourage them to make something out of themselves.
Either one of them thinking about medicine?
No, my sister wants to do psychology and counseling, so it's similar.
Yeah.
And my brother's more into exercise science and business, so he's on a different spectrum. But you know, we're all just trying to make something of ourselves. So.
Right. What do you tell folks when they ask you, you know, like I did, why U of L? If there's a potential student out there that can't decide where they want to go to school, what do you tell them?
I honestly think that you cannot get a better combination of teaching and mentorship, a university that's going to get you out there serving your community, but also if you're interested in research experience, and just clinical experience. You just get it all at UofL. You really do.
And you came over here at a young age from another country, and you were 8. Do you consider yourself an international student or a refugee, or do you consider? Yeah, I didn't think you probably did, because that's been some time.
It's funny because when we do go to Europe to visit our home country, we say we miss Bowling Green or Louisville, and everyone's like, "Aren't you home?" I'm like, "Not really." I mean, I've spent almost 20 years of my life here, so I definitely consider myself more of an American. But I feel like that part of my history is always going to be with me, and it's what made me who I am today.
Right. One thing I got to ask you about, because I did a story on it and I know a little bit about it, the simulation lab.
Yes.
Have you been in there?
I have.
Why don't you describe to people what the sim lab is and what it does in terms of training you to become a real doctor?
My most recent experience there was actually advanced cardiac life support, and it's something that you really need to be able to do as a doctor, but it's hard to practice saving lives on people that are dying. So in order to make sure that you are competent in that, using the mannequins and the computers that they have with the different scenarios, and there's always a teacher that helps you out with them. Ultrasound machines, I mean, you name it, they have it. And it really does help prepare you when you get into the room, someone is crashing, or you need to do an ultrasound, you're already prepared and you know how to do it.
And these are basically robots that are like, six-figure robots that that they use to train these students, and they can actually talk back to the students, and as you're describing, and you can do surgeries on them and those kind of. It's really amazing. It's kind of freaky, actually, to be honest with you.
It was at first, but you do get used to it. It just really makes you feel like you're in that patient setting, and it just really does prepare you to what to expect when you are.
Well, you're not quite done yet, but are you about ready to go out and become a real doctor?
Well, we got our MDs on the 13th, but we haven't officially started until July 1st for most of us. So I'm excited, anxious but excited.
Anxious but excited. Do you plan to practice here in Kentucky? Stay in Kentucky?
I do.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'll stick to the big city and stay in Louisville, or if I'd go back to Bowling Green, but this area definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations, first of all, on graduating. Good luck with your not internships. What do we?
Residency, but we are interns the first year.
Same thing. Internships, residencies, whatever you call it. So, Meliha Hrustanovic-Kadic, good luck in the future.
Thank you so much.
All right. Sit still for just a second. I want to throw a little tidbit at you. I always try and do a little bit of trivia at the end of these shows. So, here's the Did You Know segment for today. Did you know the UofL is one of 4 Kentucky schools and the only public university ranked among the best college values by Kiplinger's? Among public colleges, the University of Louisville is ranked 76th in the U.S. Kiplinger's ranks schools based on its definition of value, which is a quality education at an affordable price. So, see, you went to a school that got you a good value for your money. So there you go. That's the Did You Know segment for today. All right. You can hear UofL Today with Mark Hebert every Monday and now Wednesday night at 6 on 93.9 The Ville. You can also watch the programs on Metro TV, Louisville's Government Access Channel, and KET3 during the week. I'll see you on Monday mornings at 9:30 on WHAS TV's Great Day Live with a news story about research, students, or something cool that's happening at the University of Louisville. Thanks for listening to UofL Today with Mark Hebert, and go Cards!